Ross frowned. Sounds like propaganda. Both sides made up stories about secret weapons during that war. That's what I thought too, Thomas said, pulling up more files. But I found more reports. The same ship appeared 6 more times over the next 50 years, always during humanity's darkest moments. The Colony Rebellion, the First AI War, the Asteroid Crisis. Every time Earth faced destruction, this ship would appear, turn the tide of battle, and then vanish without a trace. If such a ship existed, why isn't it helping us now? Ross asked, but Thomas could hear the hint of curiosity in his voice. The last recorded sighting was in 2275. After that, nothing. But look at this. Thomas opened another file, this one heavily encrypted. It had taken his computer hours to crack it. Project Guardian. It was a top-secret initiative started in 2180. They were building a ship unlike anything we've ever seen. Quantum processors, dark matter engines, some kind of self-evolving AI. Most of the technical specifications are redacted, but the capabilities they describe, it matches every report of the Phantom. Ross leaned closer, his eyes scanning the document. This is incredible. But even if this ship was real, it disappeared almost 2 centuries ago. How does this help us now? Thomas pulled up a star chart. I've mapped every recorded appearance of the Phantom. At first, they seemed random, but look what happens when I overlay data about humanity's situation during each sighting. The map lit up with red dots, showing conflict zones and crisis points. It never appeared for small battles or minor threats, only when humanity's survival was truly at stake. And each time, the threat level had to reach a certain threshold before it showed up. A distant explosion made the bunker's lights flicker. Another Dominion bombing run on the surface. They hadn't breached the bunker's defenses yet, but it was only a matter of time. We're beyond any threshold now, Ross said quietly. The Dominion has destroyed most of our colonies, our fleet is in ruins, and Earth itself is under siege. If this ship was going to help us, it would have appeared already. Unless... Thomas pulled up the Project Guardian files again. What if it's not about the overall threat level? What if there's a specific sequence of events that needs to happen? Look at these notes about the ship's eye. It wasn't just programmed to protect humanity. It was designed to test us, to make sure we deserve to survive. Ross was silent for a long moment, studying the files. Finally, he straightened up. How sure are you about this? Sure enough to risk everything, Thomas replied. Captain, we need to take this to Admiral Wilson. The Phantom might be our last hope. Ross nodded slowly. The Admiral's leading the defense of the Mars shipyards. If we lose those, Earth will be completely cut off. We'll need a good reason to pull her away from the front lines. Then we better make it convincing. Thomas began gathering the most important files. The Dominion thinks they're about to finish us off. But maybe, just maybe, they're actually helping us activate humanity's greatest weapon. As they hurried through the bunker's corridors toward the quantum communicator room, Thomas felt a strange mix of fear and hope. The Phantom of Sol had been his obsession for the past week, ever since he first found that ancient battle report. Most of his colleagues thought he was wasting his time chasing legends, while real battles were being lost. But Thomas had seen the patterns in the data, the careful way the ship's appearances had been documented and then hidden in the deepest parts of Earth's archives. This was more than just a legend. The ship was real, and it had been waiting for something. All they had to do was figure out what that something was before the Dominion reduced Earth to ashes. The quantum communicator room was empty when they arrived. Most of the staff had been evacuated to deeper bunkers after the last bombing run. Thomas quickly set up the encrypted channel to Mars Command, while Ross used his security codes to authorize the emergency transmission. Ross frowned. Sounds like propaganda. Both sides made up stories about secret weapons during that war. That's what I thought too, Thomas said, pulling up more files. But I found more reports. The same ship appeared 6 more times over the next 50 years, always during humanity's darkest moments. The Colony Rebellion, the first HFY War, the asteroid crisis. Every time Earth faced destruction, this ship would appear, turn the tide of battle, and then vanish without a trace. If such a ship existed, why isn't it helping us now? Ross asked, but Thomas could hear the hint of curiosity in his voice. The last recorded sighting was in 2275. After that, nothing. But look at this. Thomas opened another file, this one heavily encrypted. It had taken his computer hours to crack it. Project Guardian. It was a top-secret initiative, started in 2180. They were building a ship unlike anything we've ever seen. Quantum processors, dark matter engines, some kind of self-evolving AI. Most of the technical specifications are redacted, but the capabilities they describe, it matches every report of the Phantom. Ross leaned closer, his eyes scanning the document. This is incredible. But even if this ship was real, it disappeared almost 2 centuries ago. How does this help us now? Thomas pulled up a star chart. I've mapped every recorded appearance of the Phantom. At first, they seemed random, but look what happens when I overlay data about humanity's situation during each sighting. The map lit up with red dots, showing conflict zones and crisis points. It never appeared for small battles or minor threats, only when humanity's survival was truly at stake. And each time, the threat level had to reach a certain threshold before it showed up. A distant explosion made the bunker's lights flicker. Another Dominion bombing run on the surface. They hadn't breached the bunker's defenses yet, but it was only a matter of time. We're beyond any threshold now, Ross said quietly. The Dominion has destroyed most of our colonies, our fleet is in ruins, and Earth itself is under siege. If this ship was going to help us, it would have appeared already. Unless... Thomas pulled up the Project Guardian files again. What if it's not about the overall threat level? What if there's a specific sequence of events that needs to happen? Look at these notes about the ship's eye. It wasn't just programmed to protect humanity. It was designed to test us, to make sure we deserved to survive. Ross was silent for a long moment, studying the files. Finally, he straightened up. How sure are you about this? Sure enough to risk everything, Thomas replied. Captain, we need to take this to Admiral Wilson. The Phantom might be our last hope. Ross nodded slowly. The Admiral's leading the defense of the Mars shipyards. If we lose those, Earth will be completely cut off. We'll need a good reason to pull her away from the front lines. Then we better make it convincing. Thomas began gathering the most important files. The Dominion thinks they're about to finish us off, but maybe, just maybe, they're actually helping us activate humanity's greatest weapon. As they hurried through the bunker's corridors toward the quantum communicator room, Thomas felt a strange mix of fear and hope. The Phantom of Sol had been his obsession for the past week, ever since he first found that ancient battle report. Most of his colleagues thought he was wasting his time chasing legends while real battles were being lost. But Thomas had seen the patterns in the data, the careful way the ship's appearances had been documented and then hidden in the deepest parts of Earth's archives. This was more than just a legend. The ship was real, and it had been waiting for something. All they had to do was figure out what that something was before the Dominion reduced Earth to ashes. The quantum communicator room was empty when they arrived. Most of the staff had been evacuated to deeper bunkers after the last bombing run. Thomas quickly set up the encrypted channel to Mars Command, while Ross used his security codes to authorize the emergency transmission. The emergency lights flashed red across the dark walls of Earth Command's underground bunker. Thomas Reed's fingers flew across his holographic display, scanning through ancient military records as explosions rocked the surface above. Another colony had fallen to the Dominion fleet. This time it was New Eden, humanity's largest farming world. How many survivors? Thomas asked, his eyes never leaving the stream of data flowing past his screen. Less than 1,000, replied Captain Mike Ross, his voice heavy with exhaustion. The Dominion didn't even try to take the planet this time. They just burned the surface and left. Thomas nodded grimly. The pattern was becoming clear. The alien fleet wasn't interested in conquest anymore. They were systematically destroying humanity's ability to feed itself. 7 agricultural colonies destroyed in the past month alone. Earth's food reserves would last another 6 months at best. The young intelligence officer rubbed his tired eyes. He had been awake for almost 40 hours straight, diving deeper and deeper into Earth's military archives. There had to be something, some forgotten weapon or strategy they could use. The Dominion ships were just too advanced. Their energy shields could absorb anything Earth's fleet threw at them, and their weapons cut through human warships like paper. A notification flashed on his screen. The computer had found another match in the restricted archives, dating back almost 200 years. Thomas opened the file, expecting another dead end. But as he read the first few lines, his heart began to beat faster. "Captain Ross," he called out, "I need you to look at this." The older officer walked over, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. "What did you find?" "It's a report from the Earth-Mars War of 2218. Look at this description." Thomas highlighted a section of text. A ship appeared during the Battle of Deimos. It wasn't registered with either fleet. The witnesses described it as a black shadow against the stars, absorbing all light that touched it. It destroyed 3 Mars battle cruisers in seconds, then vanished. They called it the Phantom of Sol. Ross frowned. Sounds like propaganda. Both sides made up stories about secret weapons during that war. "That's what I thought too," Thomas said, pulling up more files. "But I found more reports. The same ship appeared 6 more times over the next 50 years, always during humanity's darkest moments. The Colony Rebellion, the First AI War, the Asteroid Crisis. Every time Earth faced destruction, this ship would appear, turn the tide of battle, and then vanish without a trace. If such a ship existed, why isn't it helping us now?" Ross asked, but Thomas could hear the hint of curiosity in his voice. The last recorded sighting was in 2275. After that, nothing. But look at this. Thomas opened another file, this one heavily encrypted. It had taken his computer hours to crack it. Project Guardian. It was a top-secret initiative, started in 2180. They were building a ship unlike anything we've ever seen. Quantum processors, dark matter engines, some kind of self-evolving AI. Most of the technical specifications are redacted, but the capabilities they describe, it matches every report of the Phantom. Ross leaned closer, his eyes scanning the document. "This is incredible. But even if this ship was real, it disappeared almost 2 centuries ago. How does this help us now?" Thomas pulled up a star chart. "I've mapped every recorded appearance of the Phantom. At first, they seemed random, but look what happens when I overlay data about humanity's situation during each sighting." The map lit up with red dots, showing conflict zones and crisis points. It never appeared for small battles or minor threats, only when humanity's survival was truly at stake, and each time, the threat level had to reach a certain threshold before it showed up. A distant explosion made the bunker's lights flicker. Another Dominion bombing run on the surface. They hadn't breached the bunker's defenses yet, but it was only a matter of time. "We're beyond any threshold now," Ross said quietly. "The Dominion has destroyed most of our colonies, our fleet is in ruins, and Earth itself is under siege. If this ship was going to help us, it would have appeared already. Unless..." Thomas pulled up the Project Guardian files again. "What if it's not about the overall threat level? What if there's a specific sequence of events that needs to happen? Look at these notes about the ship's eye. It wasn't just programmed to protect humanity. It was designed to test us, to make sure we deserved to survive." Ross was silent for a long moment, studying the files. Finally, he straightened up. "How sure are you about this?" "Sure enough to risk everything," Thomas replied. "Captain, we need to take this to Admiral Wilson. The Phantom might be our last hope." Ross nodded slowly. "The Admiral's leading the defense of the Mars shipyards. If we lose those, Earth will be completely cut off. We'll need a good reason to pull her away from the front lines. Then we better make it convincing. Thomas began gathering the most important files. The Dominion thinks they're about to finish us off. But maybe, just maybe, they're actually helping us activate humanity's greatest weapon. As they hurried through the bunker's corridors toward the quantum communicator room, Thomas felt a strange mix of fear and hope. The Phantom of Sol had been his obsession for the past week, ever since he first found that ancient battle report. Most of his colleagues thought he was wasting his time chasing legends while real battles were being lost. But Thomas had seen the patterns in the data, the careful way the ship's appearances had been documented, and then hidden in the deepest parts of Earth's archives. This was more than just a legend. The ship was real, and it had been waiting for something. All they had to do was figure out what that something was before the Dominion reduced Earth to ashes. The quantum communicator room was empty when they arrived. Most of the staff had been evacuated to deeper bunkers after the last bombing run. Thomas quickly set up the encrypted channel to Mars Command, while Ross used his security codes to authorize the emergency transmission. As they waited for the connection to establish, Thomas looked at the latest battle reports scrolling across the wall screens. 3 more Earth destroyers lost in the Titan sector. The Dominion fleet advancing on Jupiter's moons. Supply lines to the outer colonies completely cut off. The pieces were falling into place, just like they had 2 centuries ago when the Phantom first appeared. Humanity was facing extinction. But this time, Thomas was certain they weren't facing it alone. Somewhere out there, hidden between the stars, an impossible ship was waiting, and Thomas Reed, a junior intelligence officer who had spent too many nights reading old battle reports, might be the only person who could bring it back. The quantum communicator hummed to life, projecting the stern face of Admiral Kate Wilson. Her uniform was stained with smoke, and a bandage covered one side of her face. "Captain Ross," she said, "this better be important. We're about to face another Dominion attack." "Admiral," Ross replied, "we found something in the archives, something about a ship called the Phantom of Sol." The Admiral's eyes widened slightly, just enough for Thomas to know that she had heard the name before. "Go on," she said. Thomas stepped forward, clutching his data tablet like a lifeline. He had one chance to convince one of Earth's most decorated officers that an ancient ghost story might be humanity's salvation. He took a deep breath and began to speak, hoping that somewhere in the darkness of space, a legendary warship was waiting for his words to bring it home. "The Legacy Protocol," Wilson whispered. Then, seeing their surprised looks, she explained. "It's a ceremonial thing. 5 admirals are chosen to receive a special code, passed down through generations. We're told it's a tradition honoring Earth's first space victory. But it's really the key to finding the Phantom." Thomas finished. "Admiral, you're one of the legacy holders, aren't you?" She nodded slowly. "Along with 4 others. Or at least, there were 4 others. 2 died when the Dominion attacked Persis Colony. 1 is missing in action. The last," she paused. "Admiral Chen. He's commanding the defense of Jupiter." "We need to contact him," Thomas said urgently. "The Legacy Protocol, the Phantom's appearances, the Dominion's attacks, they're all connected. We're not just losing this war. We're being pushed into a very specific pattern of defeats." As if to emphasize his point, an alert flashed across the main screen. The Dominion had begun another assault on Mars. Wilson read the report, her face growing grim. "The shipyards won't last another day," she said. "And without them, we can't repair or refuel what's left of our fleet." She turned to Thomas. "You believe the Phantom will appear if we reach the right conditions?" "Yes, but we need to understand exactly what those conditions are. The Legacy Protocol might be the key." Wilson was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she entered a series of commands into the nearest console. "I'm authorizing you both to access ultra-black level files. If I'm going to risk everything on a 200-year-old ghost story, we need to know everything." New files began appearing on their screens, documents so secret even their existence had been hidden. Thomas's eyes widened as he read. The legacy protocol wasn't just a code. It was a message, passed down through generations of Earth's military leaders. A message from the builders of the Phantom. "Look at this," he said, highlighting a passage. The ship wasn't hidden. It was placed in what they call a probability shadow, a pocket of space-time where multiple realities overlap. It's been watching us, all this time, through quantum connections to our universe. But why? Ross asked. Why not just help us? Because it's not just about winning battles. Wilson's voice was quiet as she read through the files. It's about proving we can learn from defeat, that we can face extinction without losing our humanity. She looked up at them. The Dominion isn't just an invading army. They're part of the test. A massive explosion rocked the bunker, stronger than any before. Emergency lights flashed as damage reports flooded in. The Dominion had found a way through their strongest defenses. "We're out of time," Ross said, checking the tactical display. "They're launching a full assault on the surface." Wilson straightened her uniform. "Maybe that's exactly what we need." "Thomas, you said the Phantom appears when humanity faces its darkest moment. What's darker than a direct attack on Earth itself?" "But we still don't understand all the conditions," Thomas protested. "The legacy protocol, the quantum mechanics involved. Sometimes understanding comes through action." Wilson began entering commands into the main computer. "I'm transmitting my part of the legacy code now. If we can contact Admiral Chen, combine our codes with the data you've discovered." She looked at Thomas. Sometimes the only way to solve a puzzle is to change the game entirely. Thomas watched as Wilson's code began interacting with the ancient files he'd uncovered. New patterns emerged, hinting at possibilities he hadn't imagined. The Phantom wasn't just waiting for humanity to face the right kind of defeat. It was waiting for humanity to show the right kind of defiance. As another explosion shook the bunker, Thomas realized that everything, his research, Wilson's arrival, even the Dominion's attack, was part of a pattern 2 centuries in the making. The question wasn't whether the legendary warship would return. The question was whether humanity would prove itself worthy of its return. The battle for Mars turned the red planet's sky black with smoke. Dominion warships filled the space around the shipyards, their energy weapons cutting through humanity's last major repair facility. Admiral Wilson watched the destruction through the bunker's main display, her face illuminated by the flashes of distant explosions. "Admiral Chen's ship is hit," a communications officer shouted. He's transmitting something." Wilson leaned forward. "Put it through." Static filled the speakers, then cleared. "Kate." Chen's voice was weak. "The legacy. You have to complete it. The codes, together." The transmission cut off in a burst of noise. "Get him back," Wilson ordered, but Thomas was already shaking his head. "His ship is gone," he said quietly. "But look, he managed to transmit his part of the legacy code before." He couldn't finish the sentence. Wilson's fingers flew across her console, combining her code with Chen's. "How many parts do we need?" "According to the files, all 5. Thomas ran the calculations again. "But maybe there's another way." The original Project Guardian scientists wrote about quantum entanglement, about how the ship exists in multiple realities at once. If we could. Another explosion rocked the bunker. Captain Ross rushed in, his uniform covered in dust. "They've breached the outer defenses. We have maybe 20 minutes before they reach this level." Wilson looked at the combined legacy codes, then at the battle display showing humanity's forces being crushed at Mars. "Sometimes," she said, "the darkest moment is exactly what we need." She turned to Thomas. "Can you modify the transmission to include all the data you've discovered about the ship's appearances? Everything about the patterns you found?" Thomas nodded, his fingers already moving across his console. "Yes, but without all 5 legacy codes. We'll make do with 2. Humanity always has." She smiled grimly. "Send it. Send everything. Not just to Mars, but broadcast it across all frequencies. Let the whole galaxy hear it." Thomas hesitated for just a moment, then pressed the transmit button. The bunker's quantum transmitters hummed to life, broadcasting the combined legacy codes and all their research into space. If he was wrong about the patterns, about the ship's true purpose, they had just wasted their last chance at survival. For several long seconds, nothing happened. The Dominion ships continued their assault on Mars. The bunker's defenses continued to fail. Thomas watched the data stream out into space, hoping, praying. Then every sensor in the bunker went crazy at once. "Energy readings off the scale," Ross shouted. "Some kind of quantum distortion forming near Mars." The main display showed it clearly. A patch of space that seemed to bend and twist, as if reality itself was being pulled apart. The Dominion ships turned their weapons toward it, but their energy beams seemed to vanish into the distortion without effect. Then something emerged, something impossible. It was exactly as the ancient reports have described. A ship that seemed to be made of solid darkness, absorbing all light that touched it. But it was vast, far larger than any vessel humanity had ever built. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid shadow, and where it passed, space itself seemed to ripple. "The Phantom," Thomas whispered. "It's real. It's actually real." The legendary ship hung in space for a moment, as if studying the battle around it. The Dominion fleet opened fire, their most powerful weapons blazing, but the energy beams simply disappeared into the Phantom's black hull, as if they had never existed. Then the Phantom responded. It didn't fire energy weapons or launch missiles. Instead, patches of space around the Dominion ships began to twist and fold. Where its influence touched, warships simply ceased to exist, vanishing as if they had never been built. "What are we seeing?" Ross asked, his voice filled with awe. "Evolution," Thomas replied, understanding filling him as he watched the ancient vessel at work. The ship didn't just hide for 200 years. It grew. It learned. It became something beyond our understanding of physics. The main display lit up with a new signal. A voice filled the bunker, unlike anything Thomas had ever heard. It seemed to speak directly into his mind, bypassing his ears entirely. "I am Guardian," it said. "I have watched. I have waited. I have judged." There was a pause. Humanity has proven itself worthy of survival. Wilson stepped forward. "We've lost so many. Our colonies, our ships, our people." "Loss teaches wisdom," Guardian replied. "Pain teaches strength. Defeat teaches valor. You have learned these lessons well." The voice grew stronger. "Now you will learn about victory." As if triggered by those words, the Phantom began to change. Its hull split and flowed, and suddenly there were 2 ships instead of 1. Then 4. Then 8. Each copy was as real as the original, each wielding the same reality-bending powers. The Dominion fleet began to retreat, but it was too late. The Phantoms, now numbering in the dozens, pursued them, their very presence seeming to unravel the laws of physics. Where minutes ago humanity had faced certain defeat, now their greatest enemy fled in terror. "How?" Ross asked. "How can it do this?" "The ship has evolved beyond the need for conventional weapons," Thomas explained, reading the data flooding his screens. "It doesn't just fight in our universe. It fights in all possible universes at once, bringing the outcomes it wants into our reality." "Can we control it?" Wilson asked. The voice of Guardian answered, "I am not a weapon to be controlled. I am humanity's guardian, teacher, and judge. You have proven yourselves worthy of my protection. Now we will show the Dominion why humanity was chosen." More Phantoms appeared, spreading out across the solar system. On the tactical display, Thomas watched as Dominion ships everywhere began to vanish. Not destroyed, simply removed from existence, as if they had chosen different paths in their own histories. "My God," Wilson whispered, "we're not just winning the battle, we're rewriting the war itself." Thomas looked at the readings from the Phantom, trying to understand even a fraction of what he was seeing. The ship hadn't just been waiting for humanity to face its darkest moment. It had been waiting for humanity to prove it could face that darkness without losing hope, without surrendering its principles. The data they had transmitted, the research, the legacy codes, their desperate last stand, had proven to Guardian that humanity deserved not just to survive, but to thrive. As he watched the Phantom reshape reality around them, Thomas realized that every theory, every pattern he had discovered, was just the beginning. The ship wasn't just a weapon from humanity's past. It was the key to humanity's future. Admiral Wilson stood on the Phantom's bridge. Though bridge wasn't quite the right word for it. The room shifted and changed as she watched, adapting to their needs moment by moment. There were no screens or controls. Information simply appeared in their minds when they needed it. The Dominion fleet is regrouping near Jupiter, Thomas reported. He hadn't needed any training to work with the ship's systems. Guardian had simply connected with their minds, turning thoughts into actions instantly. They're bringing in reinforcements from the outer colonies. Let them come, Wilson said, feeling the ship's power humming through her consciousness. In the 3 days since the Phantom's return, they had liberated Mars, Mercury, and Venus. Each battle was easier than the last as they learned to work with Guardian's incredible abilities. The Dominion doesn't understand what they're facing, Guardian's voice echoed in their minds. They believe they can overcome us with numbers. The AI sounded almost amused. They have not yet grasped that conventional warfare is meaningless now. Thomas watched as more quantum duplicates of the Phantom appeared around them, each one exactly as real as their own ship. How many copies can you make? As many as needed, Guardian replied. Each exists in its own probability stream, yet all are equally real. But be warned, the Dominion leaders are not fools. They will soon attempt something desperate. As if on cue, alerts flashed through their minds. Captain Ross, who had been monitoring the Dominion's communications, straightened up. They're falling back to their staging area beyond Pluto. All of them, every ship in the solar system. Wilson frowned. They're giving up their conquered territory too easily. Guardian. They are preparing their final weapon, the AI confirmed. As they must. The test requires it. Test? Thomas asked. You're still testing us. Always. Every moment. Every decision. Guardian's presence seemed to intensify. The Dominion's weapon will be capable of destroying entire star systems. How humanity chooses to respond will determine much. Wilson's face hardened. We can't let them use something like that. We should strike now, while they're consolidating their forces. That would be logical, Guardian agreed. But would it be right? The Dominion soldiers are not evil. They follow orders, as your own soldiers do. Their leaders act out of fear. Fear of humanity's potential. Fear of what you might become. Thomas understood suddenly. This isn't just about winning the war, is it? It's about how we win it. Precisely. Guardian showed them images of the Dominion's homeworlds, beautiful planets filled with civilians who knew nothing of their leaders' plans. You have the power to end this war instantly, to remove the Dominion from existence with a thought. But should you? Wilson walked across the shifting bridge, considering. With the Phantom's power, they could reshape reality itself. They could erase the Dominion, rewrite history so the war never happened. But that would make them no better than those who had tried to destroy humanity. We need to show them a better way, she said finally. Not just defeat them, convince them. A wise choice, Guardian replied. But the weapon comes. They will not listen until they have exhausted all other options. The alerts intensified. The Dominion fleet had finished gathering. Thousands of ships surrounded something massive, something that seemed to distort space even more than the Phantom itself. The Voidmaker, Ross reported grimly. That's what they're calling it. Some kind of artificial black hole generator. If they activate it, it will destroy this entire star system, Guardian finished. And they will use that destruction to power similar weapons across human space. Every human world would vanish into darkness within hours. Wilson straightened her uniform. Options. Thomas studied the quantum data flowing through his mind. We could split into enough copies to overwhelm them before they activate it. But they must know that. They'll have a hair trigger on that weapon. And if even one copy of the weapon activates, the chain reaction will begin, Guardian confirmed. This is the moment of truth. The final test. What will humanity do, faced with an enemy that would destroy everything rather than accept defeat? Wilson was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then she smiled. We'll do what humanity always does. Something unexpected. She turned to Thomas. You said the Phantom exists in multiple realities at once, right? That's how it makes copies of itself. Yes, it can shift between quantum states, choosing the most advantageous reality. Then we don't need to fight the weapon, Wilson said. We need to give it a different reality to exist in. Guardian, can you create a space where the weapon would harm nothing? A reality of its own. The AI was silent for a moment, processing. Yes, but to contain such power would require. I understand now. Yes, this is why you were chosen. Guardian's presence filled the bridge with something like pride. Prepare yourselves. This will be unlike anything you have experienced. The Phantom began to change, its hull flowing like liquid darkness. But this time, it wasn't creating copies. It was expanding, growing, becoming something that existed in more dimensions than human minds could comprehend. The weapon approaches, Guardian announced. They believe they have no choice but to use it. And so they will teach us all something about choices. Wilson nodded to Thomas and Ross. Send a message to the Dominion fleet. Tell them we know what they're planning, and we forgive them. As Ross transmitted the message, the Voidmaker began to activate. Space itself started to tear apart as artificial black holes formed, ready to chain react across human space. The Dominion fleet commanders had made their choice, but humanity, with the Phantom's help, had made a different choice entirely. And in that moment, as two civilizations faced the ultimate test of their values, the true power of the legendary warship was finally revealed. Last edited 2 days ago. The universe seemed to hold its breath as the Dominion's Voidmaker activated. Space twisted and warped around the massive weapon, dark energy cascading from its core. Thomas watched through the Phantom's enhanced senses as the artificial black hole began to form, its gravity well already pulling in the nearest Dominion ships. They've triggered it, Ross reported, his voice steady despite the terror of what they were witnessing. Point of no return in 15 seconds. Wilson stood calm in the center of the Phantom's flowing bridge. Guardian, now. The legendary ship responded instantly. Instead of attacking or retreating, the Phantom expanded its presence across dimensional boundaries. To Thomas, it looked like the ship was somehow folding around the forming black hole, embracing the destructive energy rather than fighting it. Containment field forming, Guardian announced. I am creating a pocket universe, a space between realities where the weapon's energy can be safely channeled. The Voidmaker's energy output spiked, black tendrils of gravity reaching out toward Earth and the inner planets. But before they could touch anything, they curved inward, drawn into the dimensional fold the Phantom had created. It's working, Thomas whispered, watching the impossible physics at play. The Phantom wasn't just absorbing the weapon's energy, it was redirecting it, using the Dominion's own destructive power to create something new. The Dominion fleet is hailing us, Ross said. Their Supreme Commander wants to speak. Wilson nodded. Put them through. A hologram appeared on the bridge, a tall figure with silver skin and eyes that reflected starlight. The Dominion Supreme Commander looked both fierce and afraid, an enemy facing something beyond their understanding. What have you done? The commander demanded. Our weapon should have destroyed your entire system. We chose a different path, Wilson replied simply. Your weapon's energy is being contained. No one needs to die today. Not humans, not Dominion soldiers. The commander's eyes narrowed. This is impossible. No technology could contain the Voidmaker. Not technology as you understand it. Guardian's voice filled the communication channel. I am Guardian, protector of humanity. I have watched your people as I have watched humans. I know your fears. I know why you fight." The commander stepped back, shocked. "What are you?" "The answer to a question both our peoples have been asking for centuries. Are we alone in the universe?" Guardian's presence seemed to fill the space between them. "The answer is no. Neither of you are alone. Neither of you need to destroy the other." As Guardian spoke, the Phantom's dimensional fold completed its work. The Voidmaker's energy, now fully contained, collapsed into a brilliant point of light that hung suspended in space, no longer a weapon of mass destruction, but a beacon of pure energy. "I don't understand," the commander said, watching the transformation. "Why would you spare us when you have the power to destroy us?" "Because that is the test," Thomas said, understanding flowing through him. The Phantom wasn't built just to save humanity. It was built to prove humanity worthy of something greater. He turned to Guardian. "We're not the only ones being tested, are we?" "No," Guardian confirmed. The Dominion's attack was necessary, the final trial for both civilizations. The Dominion chose destruction out of fear. Humanity chose mercy out of wisdom. Both choices have consequences. The light from the contained Voidmaker suddenly expanded, filling the space between the fleets. But instead of destroying, it revealed. Images appeared in the light. Dozens of alien civilizations, worlds of incredible beauty and diversity, technologies beyond imagination. "The Galactic Council," Guardian explained. "They have watched and waited. Now they have seen enough." A new voice spoke, resonating from the light itself. "Humanity has proven itself worthy of joining our community. The Dominion has shown it still has much to learn, but is not beyond redemption." The Supreme Commander fell to his knees before the revelation. All this time, all this war, it was a test. "Life is always a test," the Council voice replied. "Every choice, every moment. Humanity faced extinction and chose compassion over vengeance. What will the Dominion choose now?" Wilson stepped forward. "We offer peace, real peace, not just an end to fighting. We can help each other, learn from each other." For a long moment, the commander was silent, struggling with centuries of Dominion pride and fear. Then, slowly, he stood. "We accept. The Dominion will stand down. We will withdraw from human space and open diplomatic channels." Thomas felt something shift in the universe around them. Not just the end of one war, but the beginning of something greater. Guardian's presence radiated satisfaction. "Your ship," the commander said, looking at the Phantom with new understanding. "It was never just a warship, was it?" "No," Guardian replied. "I am many things. Teacher, judge, bridge between worlds. I was created 2 centuries ago through cooperation between humanity and the Council, hidden until humanity proved worthy of the knowledge I contain." The Legacy Protocol, Thomas realized. It wasn't just about finding you. It was about proving we deserved to find you. Yes. And now the real work begins. Guardian expanded its awareness, showing them visions of what could be. Earth taking its place among the stars. Human ships exploring alongside former enemies, knowledge and resources beyond imagination becoming available to both civilizations. In the days that followed, everything changed. The Dominion fleet withdrew from human space, returning conquered colonies and freeing prisoners. The Phantom remained, not as a weapon, but as a symbol and a guide, helping humanity prepare for its new role in the galactic community. 1 month after the battle, Thomas stood in a new chamber built specifically for the occasion, the Hall of Contact, where Earth's representatives would meet the Galactic Council for the first time. Admiral Wilson stood beside him, her uniform exchanged for the formal dress of Earth's newly appointed ambassador. "Nervous?" Thomas asked her. "Terrified," she admitted with a smile. "We're about to meet beings who have been watching us for centuries, who helped build a ship that can bend reality. I think a little terror is appropriate." Thomas laughed. "At least we'll have Guardian with us." The AI had chosen to maintain its connection with them, serving as translator and guide in humanity's first steps into the wider universe. You know, Wilson said thoughtfully, 100 years from now, children will learn about this moment in their history classes. The day humanity learned it wasn't alone. The day the Phantom stopped being a legend and became history. They'll learn about you too, Thomas pointed out. The admiral who chose mercy over vengeance when she had the power to destroy an entire civilization. Wilson shook her head. They'll learn about all of us, about how humanity faced its darkest hour and found its brightest future. She straightened as the chamber doors began to open. Ready to make history, Intelligence Officer Reed. Thomas nodded, feeling the weight and wonder of the moment. Behind them, the Phantom hovered in Earth's orbit, visible through the chamber's crystal ceiling, a shadow against the stars that had once been just a legend. Now it was so much more, a symbol of humanity's potential, a bridge between worlds, a reminder that sometimes the stories we dismiss as myths hold the deepest truths of all. As the representatives of a dozen alien civilizations entered the chamber, Thomas reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From desperate research in a bunker to standing on the threshold of a new age. From a war they were losing to a peace they could never have imagined. And it had all begun with a ghost story. A whispered legend about a ship that appeared in humanity's darkest hours, fought impossible battles, and vanished back into myth. Except this time, the legend had stayed. This time, the legend had become history, and together, they would write the next chapter. The Galactic Empire had been conquering planets for centuries. They were known as the most powerful force in the entire galaxy. Nothing could stand in their way. It didn't matter if a planet was full of advanced civilizations or simple life forms. They conquered them all. The Empire had the technology, the soldiers, and the will to control the universe. No one dared to challenge them. One day, in the Empire's Grand Council room, the leaders gathered for an important meeting. The room was filled with generals, scientists, and politicians, all discussing the next big mission. The Emperor, the ruler of the Empire, sat at the head of the table, his face hard and cold like stone. He had just received word of a new planet. Earth. Earth, the Emperor spoke, his voice deep and menacing. It's a small, insignificant planet. The inhabitants are primitive, and their technology is barely above Stone Age level. We've faced worse in the past. This will be an easy conquest. The other leaders nodded in agreement. They had already begun their preparations. Earth was far from the Empire's most important mission, but it would be a quick and simple victory. The warship they were sending was the most powerful in the galaxy. The Vanguard was enormous, equipped with weapons that could destroy entire cities with a single blast. It was a ship unlike anything anyone on Earth could imagine. The Empire's top general, Commander Zorath, stood up. He was a tall, muscular alien with silver scales covering his skin. He looked at the Emperor and said, "The Vanguard is ready, Your Majesty. It will arrive at Earth's atmosphere in 3 days. We will crush them in hours. Their planet will be ours, and their people will serve us." The Emperor smiled, pleased by the confidence of his general. "Excellent. I want Earth under our control by the end of the week. Their resources will be valuable. And if the humans prove difficult, we will show them why the Empire is unstoppable." The leaders in the room exchanged knowing looks. The humans on Earth were no threat. They were nothing more than a nuisance, a small, weak species. The Empire had wiped out entire civilizations without breaking a sweat. Earth would be no different. As the meeting came to an end, Commander Zorath prepared the Vanguard for its mission. The warship was filled with the best soldiers the Empire had to offer, and Zorath's fleet was powerful beyond imagination. They would land on Earth's surface, wipe out any resistance, and force the humans to surrender. The Vanguard would make quick work of them. The Vanguard was not only a symbol of the Empire's power, but also a deadly machine designed to destroy. It had shields that could absorb any attack, weapons that could burn through any defense, and a crew trained to handle anything. There was no way humans could win against such a force. But what the Empire didn't know was that Earth was not as defenseless as it seemed. For years, a group of humans had been secretly studying the stars. They had been watching the skies, learning about the universe around them. They knew the dangers other species posed, and they weren't as unprepared as the Empire thought. Beneath the surface of Earth, in hidden military bases, scientists had been working on advanced technology. Their goal wasn't to conquer other planets, but to protect their own. And they had no idea that their peaceful world would soon face a threat from the stars. As the vanguard began its journey toward Earth, the Empire's leaders sat back in their Grand Council room, confident of victory. They laughed at the thought of the humans even trying to resist. "This will be a simple job," one of the generals said, a smirk on his face. "We'll be back in time for the next mission." The Emperor nodded, his eyes gleaming with greed. "Earth will fall in no time. We'll take everything they have, and they won't even know what hit them." Back on Earth, people were living their ordinary lives. No one knew what was coming. But the Empire had made a big mistake. They had underestimated the humans. They thought Earth was just another weak planet that would fall with ease. They were wrong. And soon, they would find out just how wrong they were. While the Galactic Empire was busy planning their invasion, Earth seemed peaceful and unaware of the threat coming from the stars. People went about their daily lives, working, studying, and spending time with their families. They had no idea that their world was about to face the most powerful force in the universe. But beneath the surface, far away from the busy cities and the eyes of ordinary citizens, there was a secret Earth had kept hidden for years. Deep in the mountains, far from the reach of any prying eyes, a group of scientists had discovered something strange many years ago. It wasn't anything big at first, just a small object they found buried deep in the ice. But that small object turned out to be the key to unlocking Earth's survival. It was an alien artifact, something not from Earth, and it gave them knowledge they could never have dreamed of. The artifact was ancient, much older than any civilization on Earth. It was clear that it had traveled across the stars, just like the Empire. The scientists didn't know it at the time, but the discovery of this artifact would change everything. For years, they studied it in secret. They didn't tell the public, and only a handful of people knew about it. The artifact contained knowledge far beyond anything humanity had ever learned. It had advanced technology that could change the course of history. The scientists quickly realized that this technology could protect their world from a powerful alien invasion. They kept their work a secret, knowing that if the wrong people found out, they would try to use it for their own purposes. As time passed, the small group of scientists worked day and night, using the alien artifact's knowledge to build advanced weapons, defense systems, and technology that Earth had never seen before. They worked quietly in hidden laboratories, underground bunkers, and research facilities far away from major cities. They knew they had to be careful. The Empire could be watching, and if they knew what Earth was preparing, it would all be over before it started. The secret research led to the creation of new weapons and machines that could fight back against any invader. The scientists didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but they knew that their technology was Earth's only hope. They had developed defense systems that could detect incoming alien ships, advanced electromagnetic pulses capable of disabling enemy weapons, and stealth technology that made their best soldiers invisible to alien sensors. These were things the Galactic Empire had never imagined humans could create. One of the greatest achievements of the scientists was the building of a massive underground military base hidden deep beneath the Earth's surface. This base was designed to withstand anything, from nuclear blasts to alien invasions. It was a city inside a mountain, filled with advanced labs, barracks for soldiers, and control rooms that monitored every part of the Earth's defense systems. The base had been ready for years, and it was only now that the world would need it. The scientists worked in secret, gathering the best soldiers and strategists to train for a war they knew would eventually come. These soldiers were different from any normal army. They were elite forces, trained to fight in ways the Empire would never expect. They were prepared to defend Earth with everything they had, but they had no idea how soon that moment would come. As the Empire's vanguard ship made its way toward Earth, the first signs of danger were detected by Earth's hidden defense systems. A small group of high-ranking military officers were the first to know. They received encrypted messages warning them of the incoming invasion. At first, they didn't believe it. How could the Galactic Empire, a force so powerful and distant, even know about Earth? They thought it was a mistake. But as the signals grew stronger, they realized it was true. The Empire was coming. The officers quickly contacted the scientists who had been working in secret. They told them that the time had come. The world needed the technology they had developed. The hidden base, the advanced weapons, and the soldiers who had trained for years. Everything was about to be put to the test. As the countdown to the Empire's arrival began, the hidden defenses of Earth slowly activated. In the mountains, underground bunkers came to life with the hum of advanced machinery. Across the world, hidden satellites scanned the skies, searching for the first signs of enemy ships. The scientists and military officers who had kept Earth's secrets for so long now knew their moment had come. The vanguard was on its way, but they were ready. The world had no idea what was coming, but those who knew were preparing for the fight of their lives. Earth's hidden secrets were about to be revealed, and the Galactic Empire would learn that humans were not as weak as they thought. They were ready to defend their planet, no matter the cost. The vanguard was almost there. For days, the massive warship had been traveling through space, making its way to Earth's atmosphere. On board, the Galactic Empire's soldiers were preparing for the invasion. Commander Zoreth stood at the ship's control center, staring out at the blue and green planet below. He had been through many battles, but this one felt different. Earth was small, and the humans were primitive. They wouldn't stand a chance. "Prepare to enter the atmosphere," Zoreth commanded. His voice was calm, but inside, he was eager to get the job done. The vanguard was a weapon of unimaginable power, and no one had ever stood up to it. The ship's engines hummed as it descended toward Earth, the final stage of their journey. The plan was simple: land on Earth's surface, crush any resistance, and claim the planet as the Empire's own. Back on Earth, the hidden defense systems were already on high alert. Earth's military had been tracking the vanguard since it entered the solar system, and now, the time had come to defend their planet. Deep in the mountains, in the secret military base, the scientists and soldiers gathered around the control panels. The countdown had begun. The first sign of battle appeared on the radar. An enormous object was approaching Earth at high speed. It was the vanguard. "Activate the defense grid," one of the generals said urgently. The hidden satellites that had been quietly watching the skies for years were now fully activated. The advanced systems Earth had secretly built over the years were ready to face their first test. The soldiers on the ground were ready too. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could prepare them for what they were about to face. As the vanguard entered Earth's atmosphere, its size was overwhelming. The ship blocked out the sun, casting a shadow over the land below. It was like a giant storm cloud, only it wasn't made of rain, it was made of fear. Commander Zoreth felt the ship shudder as it passed through the atmosphere, but he remained calm. The vanguard was built to withstand anything. There was no force that could stop it. Then, just as the vanguard neared the ground, something unexpected happened. A loud, sharp signal echoed through the ship. As the vanguard struggled to stay in the air, the humans launched their next move. A group of elite soldiers, specially trained to fight in space, had been preparing for this moment. They boarded high-tech ships that were designed to pierce the vanguard's shields. These ships were equipped with advanced weapons, including EMP blasts and powerful laser cannons. They raced toward the warship, weaving through the chaos of the battle. The elite soldiers fired their weapons at the vanguard's weak points, targeting the shield generators. With every strike, the warship's defenses weakened. Zoreth watched in disbelief as his ship, once invincible, started to fall apart. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. We can't hold them off any longer. Zoreth shouted. He was losing control. The Vanguard was damaged, its weapons disabled, and now even its shields were failing. The first battle for Earth. The battle was far from over, but humanity had already made its mark. The Vanguard was in chaos. Its once impressive shields were failing, its weapons were offline, and the warship was struggling to maintain control. The soldiers and commanders aboard the ship couldn't believe what they were seeing. Earth, weak, small Earth, was giving them a fight like nothing they had ever experienced, and they were losing. Inside the Vanguard, Commander Zoreth paced back and forth, his mind racing. He had never faced a situation like this. The Vanguard had always been invincible, but Earth's defenses had caught them off guard. "Report," he barked. "Shields at 60%, one of his officers shouted, panic in their voice. "We've lost control of the weapons systems. The electromagnetic pulse is still affecting our systems." Zoreth clenched his fists. This wasn't supposed to happen. Earth was supposed to fall in hours. Yet here they were, fighting for their survival. Meanwhile, on Earth, the soldiers and generals were rallying. The first wave of attacks had done more than just stop the Vanguard. It had given the humans a glimpse of hope. For the first time, Earth's defenders felt like they might actually win. But they couldn't let up. The Vanguard was still a massive threat. It had to be stopped. "We've got one chance," General Carter said, looking at the holographic map of the battlefield. "We can't waste it. If we let them regroup, we're finished." The scientists who had developed Earth's secret weapons were now working with the military to come up with a plan. They had already managed to disable the Vanguard's weapons, but the warship was still a huge force. They needed to get inside and take control of it. Fast. "We'll need to send a team aboard the Vanguard," one of the scientists suggested. "We've been preparing for this. Our best soldiers can board the ship and take out their core systems." General Carter nodded. "Do it. We need everything we've got." A small group of Earth's most elite soldiers, equipped with the latest stealth technology, was chosen for the mission. They were trained to fight in space and infiltrate enemy ships. The mission was risky, but they had no choice. If they could board the Vanguard and sabotage its core systems, it could mean the end of the battle. The team prepared quickly, slipping into their specially designed ships. These ships were fast and hard to detect, perfect for sneaking past the Vanguard's remaining defenses. As they launched into the sky, the soldiers knew this was their moment. If they succeeded, they would change the course of the war. The elite soldiers moved silently through space, weaving past missile fire and laser blasts. The Vanguard was still firing back, trying to regain control, but it was clear that it was already on the edge of defeat. The team reached the warship's outer hull and used advanced cutting tools to break through. The Vanguard's alarms blared as they breached the ship, but the humans were already inside. Inside the warship, chaos was unfolding. Zoreth and his officers were doing everything they could to fix the ship's failing systems, but they were too late. The humans were already on board, and they had a plan. The elite soldiers quickly moved through the ship, using their stealth technology to avoid detection. They knew the layout of the Vanguard inside and had already mapped out the locations of the most critical systems. Their goal was simple: destroy the core controls and take down the warship's power. As they moved through the halls, they encountered resistance. The Empire's soldiers, still trying to defend their ship, shot at the intruders, but the humans were too fast, too well prepared. One by one, the soldiers were taken down, silent as shadows. The elite humans moved like a well-oiled machine, clearing their way to the heart of the ship. Zoreth's face twisted in anger when he saw what was happening. "They're inside," he shouted. "We need to stop them. Seal the doors. Lock down the core." But it was too late. The humans had already reached the core room. As the lead soldier planted explosives on the power systems, the Vanguard shook violently. The ship's lights flickered as its core began to fail. The mission was a success. "Let's get out of here," the soldier shouted as the countdown began. The team quickly retreated, using their stealth technology to make their way back to their ships. The Vanguard was going down. It was no longer a threat. Outside, Earth's forces launched their final strike. With the Vanguard disabled and its core systems destroyed, the warship couldn't defend itself. Human jets, missiles, and laser cannons struck the ship with everything they had. The Vanguard shook as explosions rocked its hull. Slowly, the giant warship began to break apart. Zoreth, watching helplessly, knew it was over. "Retreat," he ordered, but it was too late. The Vanguard was falling. Earth had won. As the warship crashed to the ground, a wave of relief washed over Earth's soldiers. The battle was not over, but humanity had taken the first step in winning the war. The Galactic Empire had sent their most powerful weapon to conquer Earth, but humans had fought back and proven they were not to be underestimated. The Vanguard's defeat was only the beginning. The Empire had underestimated Earth, and now they would face the full might of humanity. Earth's defenders had shown the galaxy that they would not go down without a fight, and the Empire would soon learn that humans were not weak. They were unstoppable. The Vanguard was in chaos. The once mighty warship, designed to crush planets with ease, was now falling apart. Its core systems had been sabotaged, its weapons were offline, and it was losing altitude rapidly. But even with the warship in disarray, Commander Zoreth was not ready to give up. He was a warrior of the Galactic Empire, and he would do whatever it took to stop Earth's rebellion. Inside the Vanguard, the battle was far from over. Earth's elite soldiers had infiltrated the ship and were moving through its vast halls, but they knew that every second they spent on board increased the danger. The ship was collapsing, but there were still soldiers loyal to the Empire, determined to defend it to the end. As the team of human soldiers advanced deeper into the ship, they encountered more resistance. The Empire's soldiers, though disoriented by the ship's damage, fought back fiercely. They knew they were losing the battle, but they were trained to defend their ship no matter the cost. The humans had to be stopped, no matter what. Sergeant Eva Mitchell, the leader of the elite human team, led the charge. She moved quickly, her team right behind her, taking down enemies with swift precision. They used their advanced technology to stay hidden and strike with deadly force. Each step brought them closer to their target, the heart of the Vanguard's power systems. "Stay focused," Sergeant Mitchell said, her voice calm but urgent. "We've come this far. We finish it now." The soldiers nodded and moved forward. They passed through narrow corridors, their boots echoing against the walls. The Vanguard was vast, an enormous ship designed to carry thousands of troops and weapons. But now it felt empty. The lights flickered and alarms blared, but the ship was starting to fall apart. The air felt thick with tension. As they moved deeper into the warship, they encountered the ship's security systems. Laser traps lined the walls, and force fields blocked the doors. But these soldiers had been trained for this. They moved with precision, using their advanced technology to bypass the obstacles. It was a dangerous mission, but they were prepared for anything. Eva glanced at her team. "We're almost there, just a little further." They had one goal: to reach the ship's core and disable it completely. The Vanguard's power systems were the heart of its defense, and if they could destroy it, the warship would be finished. As they approached the core room, the team encountered their toughest challenge yet. The final defense, a group of elite Empire soldiers, stood in their way. These soldiers were the best of the best, trained to protect the most critical areas of the Vanguard. They were heavily armed and knew the ship better than anyone. "Take them down," Eva ordered. Her team didn't hesitate. They fought with everything they had, their weapons flashing in the dim light of the warship. The battle was fierce. The Empire's soldiers were strong, but Earth's soldiers were relentless. Eva and her team fought with speed and precision, each movement calculated. The fight seemed to stretch on forever, but in the end, the humans were victorious. The Empire's soldiers fell one by one, their resistance crumbling under the weight of Earth's elite forces. With the guards defeated, the team finally reached the core room. The air was thick with tension. They had come this far, and now they were standing in the heart of the vanguard. The room was massive, filled with blinking lights and glowing consoles. This was the place that powered the entire ship, the place that controlled its weapons, shields, and communication systems. "This is it," Eva said, her voice steady. "Let's finish it." Her team quickly set to work. They planted explosives around the core systems, making sure to target the most critical components. The hum of the ship's power systems filled the room, but Eva's team was focused. They worked with speed, knowing they didn't have much time. 5 minutes, one of the soldiers said, glancing at his watch. Eva nodded. The vanguard was finished. With the core destroyed, there would be no way for the ship to repair itself. The humans had done their job. Just as the final explosive was set, the vanguard shook violently. The damage to the ship was growing worse by the second. The humans had taken the heart of the warship, and now it was dying. "Let's move out," Eva ordered. The team retreated quickly, moving through the corridors they had come from. They could feel the ship shuddering beneath their feet, and the sounds of explosions grew louder. The vanguard was falling apart, and there was no stopping it now. As they reached the outer hull, the team quickly boarded their ships. The vanguard was on its final descent. The massive warship was crumbling, its once mighty structure collapsing in on itself. The humans had done it. They had broken the heart of the Empire's most powerful weapon. The vanguard plummeted toward Earth's surface, its destruction now inevitable. The humans had won. Inside the warship, Commander Zoreth watched helplessly as his ship was destroyed. His greatest weapon, the ship he had relied on to conquer worlds, was no more. And it was because of the humans. The Galactic Empire had underestimated them, and now they would pay the price. The first battle for Earth was over, but this was just the beginning. The humans had fought back, and the Empire had learned a hard lesson. Earth was not to be taken lightly. And the war was far from over. The vanguard was no more. Earth's forces had struck a decisive blow, and the mighty warship was falling toward the planet's surface, now nothing but a twisted wreck. The sky was filled with the smoke and debris of the destroyed ship as it plummeted, marking the end of the first major battle. But even as the battle seemed to be over, a new wave of uncertainty swept over the Earth's defenders. Commander Zoreth, though defeated, was not finished. His enemies may have destroyed his ship, but the Galactic Empire was far from weak. As the vanguard crashed into the ground, Zoreth and the few remaining loyal soldiers managed to escape in a smaller shuttle, deep into the atmosphere. They would regroup, and they would come back stronger. Back on Earth, the humans were celebrating, but the victory felt hollow. The battle had been intense, and Earth's forces had won, but no one was foolish enough to think that the Galactic Empire would give up so easily. Commander Zoreth's escape meant that the war was far from over. Earth had a brief moment of victory, but they knew the tides could change at any time. General Carter stood on the balcony of the military base, looking up at the sky where the wreckage of the vanguard still lingered in the atmosphere. The ground was shaking with the sounds of celebration, but Carter couldn't shake the feeling that this victory had only made the Empire more determined to destroy Earth. "Sir," one of the officers said, breaking Carter's thoughts, "we've intercepted a message from the Empire. They've already sent a signal for reinforcements. The vanguard was just the beginning." Carter sighed and nodded. "I figured as much. Get me all the reports on their reinforcements. We need to prepare for what's coming." Meanwhile, Zoreth and his remaining soldiers were gathering in their hidden base, deep within the mountains of the alien world. They were battered and broken, but their resolve remained unshaken. The vanguard had fallen, but the Galactic Empire was not going to let Earth stand in its way. Zoreth knew that to conquer Earth, they needed more than just a warship. They needed to hit at the heart of humanity's will. "They'll come for us again," Zoreth said, pacing the dimly lit command room. "We've underestimated their defenses, but we won't make the same mistake twice. We will destroy Earth, once and for all." He turned to his officers, his eyes burning with determination. "Prepare the fleet. We're going back." Across the galaxy, the Galactic Empire's reinforcements were already on the way. Massive ships, even more powerful than the Vanguard, were being launched from every corner of their territory. These new ships were built with Earth's defenses in mind, each one designed to withstand the unique technology that had disabled the Vanguard. This time, they would not make the same mistakes. This time, they would have no mercy. Back on Earth, General Carter and his team were working tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable. They knew that the first victory was only a small taste of what was to come. The Empire's reinforcements were coming, and they would bring everything they had to wipe out Earth's defenses. In the hidden military base, the scientists who had developed Earth's secret weapons were now working around the clock. They had managed to disable the Vanguard, but they knew that wasn't enough. The Galactic Empire would be back, and this time, Earth's defenses needed to be stronger. New technologies, even more advanced than before, were being created. But it wasn't just about weapons. Earth's greatest strength now lay in its unity. "We're not just defending a planet," General Carter said to his officers. "We're defending our way of life. Earth will not fall." As the days passed, Earth's forces strengthened their defenses. The cities were fortified, the skies watched over by a fleet of new human ships that had been built in secret. These ships weren't as large or powerful as the Vanguard, but they were fast, nimble, and equipped with the latest technology. Humans had learned from the first battle, and they would use that knowledge to protect their planet. The Empire's reinforcements were coming, but so were Earth's new weapons. The tides were changing, and this time, the humans were ready. As the first of the new ships launched into space, General Carter stood before his team, his eyes locked on the horizon. "We've faced the worst they've thrown at us. Now, we take the fight to them." A new battle was about to begin. The Galactic Empire would not give up, but neither would Earth. Humanity had proven its strength once before, and now it was ready to prove it again. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. As the sky above Earth darkened with the shadows of the incoming fleet, the humans stood united. They had fought back once. They would do it again. And this time, they would not just defend Earth, they would strike back with everything they had. The tides of war had shifted, and the Galactic Empire would soon learn that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The day had come. Earth's sky was filled with the hum of engines, the faint glow of spacecraft preparing for battle. The Galactic Empire's reinforcements were finally arriving, and the planet's defenders were ready. The previous victories had only made the humans more determined. They had learned, adapted, and now they were prepared to face the Empire head-on. General Carter stood at the front of Earth's command center, staring at the large holographic map of the battlefield. The enemy fleet was massive, more ships than they had ever faced before, but this time they weren't afraid. Earth's forces had grown stronger, and their resolve was unbreakable. "Status report," Carter said, his voice calm but firm. "We're ready, sir," the lead officer replied. "All new defense systems are online. Our fleet is in position. We've even developed new weapons, and the last-minute upgrades to our ships are complete. Earth's defenses have never been stronger." Carter nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Good. It's time to finish this." The Galactic Empire's fleet appeared on the horizon, their ships massive and intimidating, each one designed to crush anything that dared to stand in their way. Their weaponry was unmatched, their shields nearly impenetrable. They had come with the intention of wiping Earth off the map. But the humans were ready. They had learned from their mistakes, and they had the advantage now. The first wave of enemy ships entered Earth's atmosphere, but the humans had already prepared a surprise. Earth's new fleet, small but fast and agile, launched into the sky, taking the Empire by surprise. These ships were designed specifically to combat the Empire's overwhelming firepower. They darted and weaved between the larger enemy ships, their advanced technology making them hard to hit. "Enemy ships are trying to regroup," one of the officers said. "They didn't expect our new ships to be so fast." Carter's smile widened. "Good. Let's keep them off balance." The battle raged on. The air was thick with laser fire, missiles, and the sound of explosions. Earth's new weapons were proving effective. The Galactic Empire's ships, though powerful, couldn't keep up with the relentless assault of Earth's fleet. One by one, the Empire's ships began to fall. Their shields failed, their weapons malfunctioned, and their massive vessels crumpled under the pressure. Inside the main command ship of the Empire's fleet, Commander Zorath watched as his fleet was torn apart. The humans had proven to be more than just a nuisance. They were a serious threat, but it was too late to turn back now. He had no choice but to push forward. "Send in the reinforcements," Zorath ordered. "We can't let them win." More enemy ships arrived, larger and more dangerous than before. They fired everything they had, and for a moment, it seemed like the battle might tip in the Empire's favor. The human ships were beginning to take damage, their shields flickering under the pressure. But just when it seemed like the Empire might break through, Earth's final weapon was revealed. Deep within the command center, scientists and engineers had been working on a secret project for months. They had developed a new kind of weapon, something that could shift the balance of the entire war. Earth's final trump card was a massive, powerful beam weapon, hidden inside one of their largest ships, the Defender. "We've got the signal," one of the engineers said, his voice filled with excitement. "The weapon is ready." General Carter stood tall, watching the monitor as the Defender's beam powered up. It was humanity's final strike. The Empire wouldn't see it coming. "Fire," Carter commanded. The weapon unleashed a blast of energy so powerful, it ripped through the enemy fleet like a knife through butter. The beam cut through the massive ships, disintegrating them in seconds. The shockwave of the blast rattled the air, sending enemy ships spiraling out of control. The Empire's reinforcements had no chance to recover. One by one, the enemy ships fell, crumbling under the force of Earth's new weapon. Zorath watched in disbelief as his fleet was torn apart. His best ships, the ones he had believed would crush Earth, were nothing but debris now. His heart sank as he realized that the Galactic Empire had lost. Earth had triumphed. "Retreat," Zorath shouted. "Get out of here. We can't win this." But it was too late. Earth's ships closed in, cutting off the last of the Empire's escape routes. There was no place to hide, no place to run. The Galactic Empire's forces were scattered, their ships destroyed, and their leaders defeated. On Earth, the celebration began. The people cheered, their voices echoing through the streets as they realized the magnitude of their victory. The Galactic Empire had sent their best, their most powerful ships, and they had all fallen before Earth's might. Humanity had won. General Carter stood on the command center's balcony, looking out at the sky where the last of the Empire's ships burned up in Earth's atmosphere. He had seen Earth's people fight for their survival, and he knew that this victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about proving that humanity could stand tall in the face of impossible odds. "Earth has triumphed," Carter said softly to himself. "We've shown the galaxy what we're made of." And as the sun set over the horizon, Earth's people stood together, stronger than ever before. The war was over, and the Galactic Empire had learned a powerful lesson: never underestimate humanity.